Actress Natalie Wood was intoxicated and angry after an argument between her husband and actor Christopher Walken when she stormed off a yacht this weekend and apparently fell into the sea. The report said there was no evidence of foul play in the 43-year-old actress's death.
For more than 40 years, one haunting mystery has kept Hollywood restless. A question whispered in dim studios, scribbled in old reports, and murmured in every late-night talk. And at the center of it all stands Robert Wagner. Once adored for his charm and class, Wagner's image slowly shifted into something far darker. A man surrounded by whispers of guilt, pain, and secrets that never stopped echoing. Now at 95, the sparkle of fame has faded, leaving only the weight of one cold truth he's carried since that icy Thanksgiving weekend in 1981, the night that changed everything forever. It was supposed to be a cozy escape near Catalina Island, just a glamorous couple out at sea. Natalie Wood and Robert Wagner aboard their yacht, the Splendor. Joining them were Natalie's co-star Christopher Walken and the yacht's captain, Dennis Davern. For Natalie, it was meant to be a peaceful breather between film shoots, a quick trip to breathe away the noise of Hollywood. But that weekend didn't end with calm waves. It became the storm that would follow Wagner for the rest of his life. The day began light and cheerful. Champagne poured, music played, and laughter bounced off the water. Locals even remembered spotting them at Doug's Harbor Reef restaurant, raising glasses, smiling, acting like nothing in the world could touch them. But when the night grew darker and the drinks kept coming, the mood started to shift, fast. The laughter softened, the tension rose, and what happened next would stain Hollywood history forever. Christopher Walken later revealed that the conversation that night took a sharp turn. They started talking about Natalie's career, how she wanted to move away from glamour roles and step back into serious acting again. That's when Robert Wagner's jealousy started to show. Even in his own 2008 memoir, Pieces of My Heart, Wagner admitted, "Jealousy, the best and worst of me." And that night, it showed in full force. When they returned to the Splendor around 10 p.m., everything felt different. The smiles were gone, and the air had turned thick with tension. The captain, Dennis Davern, recalled that the earlier laughter had faded into uneasy silence. Then that silence broke, replaced by shouting echoing through the yacht. Davern claimed that Wagner suddenly grabbed a wine bottle and smashed it against the table, glass flying everywhere, as he accused Natalie of being too friendly with Walken. His voice, usually smooth and calm, cracked with fury. Walken tried to calm the situation, but it was no use. Eventually, he walked away, retreating to his cabin and leaving the couple alone. Moments later, everything went quiet again. The laughter was gone, the arguments stopped, and then came a silence so deep it chilled the air. When the noise finally broke again, it wasn't with words. It was panic. Natalie was gone. Wagner said he thought she had gone to bed, but when he checked and realized she wasn't there, dread hit instantly. The yacht's small dinghy, the one used to reach the shore, was missing too. But here's what made no sense. Natalie had always been terrified of deep water. The thought of her going out alone, barefoot and wearing just a nightgown, didn't fit the woman anyone knew. At 3:30 a.m., Wagner finally called the Coast Guard. The search team battled freezing winds and black waves for hours, scanning the pitch-dark ocean. When dawn rose over Catalina Island on November 29th, the truth surfaced, literally. Natalie Wood's body was found floating just a mile from the yacht. She was only 43. She wore a thin nightgown, socks, and a red jacket, clothing far too light for that icy night. The coroner ruled it an accident, but the bruises on her arms and legs, the scratches on her neck, and her lifelong fear of water told a different story. Hollywood went quiet, but behind closed doors, the whispers got louder. Jealousy, anger, and guilt, the three shadows that would haunt Robert Wagner for decades. Investigators rushed to close the case quickly, shaping it into a neat, scandal-free version for the headlines. According to Wagner, after his argument with Walken, Natalie had gone to bed. He claimed that sometime later, she might have gone out to tighten the yacht's dinghy ropes, and that she must have slipped and fallen into the water. It sounded simple enough to calm the public, at least for a while. But when new evidence started surfacing, that story began to fall apart fast. Hours later, the small rubber dinghy named the Valiant was found drifting silently in the waves. Its motor was off, the key still in the ignition, and the oars neatly tied down, untouched. It didn't look like anyone had ever used it. Investigators noticed even stranger details. The light switch on the dinghy was turned off, and there were no footprints or marks showing that Natalie had ever stepped aboard. Each new clue made the accident explanation harder to believe. Then came the autopsy, and everything got even darker. Natalie's blood alcohol level was 0.14%, and traces of seasickness medicine and painkillers were found in her system, enough to make her weak, dizzy, and disoriented. But what truly shocked investigators were the fresh bruises on her arms, legs, and face, injuries that looked like they had happened before she ever entered the water. In 2013, the Los Angeles County Coroner's Office reopened the case and issued an updated report. Their findings suggested that Natalie's injuries may have occurred before she entered the water. That single revelation shattered the neat, accidental fall theory and reopened one of Hollywood's most chilling mysteries, a mystery that has never truly let go. Then came the voices from the dark ocean, the witnesses who changed everything. Marilyn Wayne and John Payne, anchored nearby on their own boat, claimed they heard a woman's screams echoing across the water for almost 15 minutes. "Help me! Someone, please help me!" the woman cried, her voice filled with terror and desperation. Marilyn said she could never forget that sound. It still haunted her dreams. Then she heard something else, a man's voice, calm but slurred, saying, "Okay, honey, we're coming to get you." But no one ever came. Moments later, the night went silent again. From that point on, nothing about the story ever stayed the same. Over the years, Robert Wagner's version of events changed, sometimes slightly, sometimes completely. Back in 1981, he told detectives that Natalie had simply vanished. Later, he claimed she went out to tie the dinghy, and in his 2008 memoir, Pieces of My Heart, he described the night as nothing more than a tragic accident. But detectives weren't buying it. Lieutenant John Carina from the Los Angeles Sheriff's Department said in 2018 that Wagner's story just didn't line up. He's changed his version again and again, and the details never add up. Investigators pushed harder. By 2012, the case had been reclassified. Natalie Wood's cause of passing was officially changed to drowning and other undetermined factors. That alone shook Hollywood. Detectives even went public, naming Robert Wagner a person of interest. They admitted that his timeline didn't make sense. Key moments were missing, and witnesses contradicted his version. But with no physical evidence or clear eyewitnesses, they couldn't bring any charges. The investigation fell into limbo, trapped between suspicion and heartbreak, truth and silence. For investigators, the truth always seemed just out of reach. But for Wagner, it became something far heavier, an invisible shadow that followed him everywhere. No amount of interviews, apologies, or memoirs could erase the questions that never went away. And that's when one woman refused to let the story fade, Natalie's younger sister, Lana Wood. While Robert Wagner quietly stepped back from the public eye, Lana did the opposite. She stepped into the spotlight with one mission: justice. She never believed the official explanation. She said again and again, "My sister was terrified of water. She would never go near that dinghy, especially not in her nightgown." In her 2021 memoir, Little Sister, My Investigation into the Mysterious Death of Natalie Wood, Lana made her boldest claim yet. She accused Robert Wagner of letting jealousy spiral out of control that night, of letting emotions turn dangerous. She even said that Captain Dennis Davern privately admitted he'd lied years earlier to protect Wagner from the full truth. Her words reignited a fire Hollywood thought had gone out decades ago. Lana claimed the captain told her Wagner had yelled in anger, followed by a loud thud, and then, chillingly, ordered him not to turn on the lights or call for help. "Don't turn on the lights. Don't call anyone," she said Davern told her Wagner demanded that night. The accusation rocked Hollywood like a wave hitting the shore. Some believed every word, convinced Lana was finally pulling back the curtain on one of Tinseltown's darkest secrets. Others said she was simply a heartbroken sister chasing ghosts from a past too painful to let go. But whether people believed her or not, one thing was certain. The mystery of that night refused to die out, and the name Robert Wagner would forever be tied to the unanswered cries from the cold Pacific darkness. But one thing couldn't be denied: Lana Wood's relentless determination changed everything. Her fight for answers pushed the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department to reopen the case that everyone thought was buried for good. In 2011, new witnesses came forward, and old memories came flooding back to life. A fisherman, just 17 years old the night Natalie vanished, claimed he heard desperate screams echoing across the black water. He said it sounded like a woman crying for help, her voice breaking through the night air before fading into silence. Another acquaintance from Wagner's early Hollywood years stepped up too, describing his temper in the 1960s, painting a side of the polished movie star that didn't match the charming gentleman image the world adored. Each new piece of information chipped away at the perfect version of events Wagner had stood by for decades. And even with mounting doubts and growing inconsistencies, prosecutors never filed charges. It was as if the truth sat right there, close enough to touch, yet somehow always out of reach. Then came the twist no one saw coming. In 2022, police announced that Robert Wagner had been officially cleared of any direct involvement. Just like that, the case that had haunted Hollywood for 40 years was declared closed. All leads in the Natalie Wood case have been exhausted, the official statement read. For Lana, that wasn't closure, it was betrayal. If he truly loved my sister, she said, why has he stayed silent before justice? Her heartbreak turned into fuel. Even now, Lana refuses to let go. She insists Wagner knows more than he's ever revealed. He was the last person with her, she said, and that silence is the loudest thing of all. Her words cut deep, echoing through the decades, keeping the mystery alive while most of Hollywood tries to forget. After that night, Robert Wagner's once golden life completely fell apart. The man who had embodied old-school Hollywood grace and charm became a walking headline for all the wrong reasons. His image, built over decades of suave performances and elegant appearances, shattered the moment Natalie's body was pulled from the cold waters of Catalina Island. That tragic night didn't just take his wife, it took his identity. The world demanded answers, and the press demanded someone to blame. Front pages screamed words like cover-up, scandal, and jealous rage. And every interview request carried one heavy, unspoken question. Did you do it, Wagner? The man who once thrived under the spotlight now avoided it like poison. He canceled public appearances, refused interviews, and retreated from the Hollywood scene entirely. Those who did see him described him as polite but empty, a ghost of the charismatic star he once was. Behind closed doors, friends said, he lived with a quiet torment that never faded. For years, Wagner remained silent, carrying both grief and suspicion like twin weights on his shoulders. But in 2008, he finally broke his silence through his memoir, Pieces of My Heart. It wasn't written like a defense, more like a message soaked in pain and loss. Not a day goes by that I don't think of Natalie, he wrote. I loved her with all my heart, and losing her was the darkest moment of my life. Those words hit hard, but not everyone believed them. Some saw a broken man still grieving. Others saw a desperate attempt to control the story and protect what was left of his legacy. When investigators reopened the case again, the headlines came roaring back. Talk shows exploded with debates, tabloids ripped through his timeline, and even police officers hinted publicly that his version of events still didn't add up. Still, Wagner said nothing. That silence, meant to shield him, only made the whispers grow louder. Then in 2020, a new chapter emerged, one from the next generation. His daughter, Natasha Gregson Wagner, released the documentary Natalie Wood, What Remains Behind. For the first time, she faced the tragedy that had defined her family's life for decades. Natasha didn't want to stir up scandals or reopen old wounds. Her mission was to show the side of her parents that Hollywood had long forgotten: love, loss, and the fragile humanity behind all the fame. The documentary offered something rare: tenderness. It showed a man and woman caught in a storm of emotion and fame, trying to live normal lives under impossible scrutiny. But even as Natasha spoke with grace and forgiveness, the shadow of that cold 1981 night still hung over everything. The mystery never truly faded, not for the public, not for investigators, and not for the family who lived through it. 4 decades later, the truth about what really happened aboard the Splendor still slips through the cracks of time like water through cupped hands. Hollywood may have moved on, But the echoes of that night still linger, a story too heavy to forget and too haunting to ever truly close. Natasha Wagner once said something that cut through all the noise. People built this story about my dad, but he loved my mom. He would have given his life for her. Those words came from a daughter still haunted by loss. She was just 11 when Natalie was gone, and the memory of that moment still stings like it happened yesterday. Her final memory of her mother wasn't dramatic or staged for cameras. It was a hug. She remembered the softness of Natalie's Angora sweater, the gentle scent of her perfume, and the uneasy feeling in her chest when her mom whispered, "Don't go." That memory never faded, but neither did the storm that followed. Natalie Wood refused to back down, still speaking out, still demanding answers. Her public accusations kept reigniting a feud that's lasted decades, splitting fans, friends, and even parts of the family. Some stood by Lana, others defended Wagner, and Hollywood stayed frozen, caught between sympathy and suspicion. But no matter which side anyone took, one fact stayed painfully clear. Guilty or not, Robert Wagner has lived every single day since that night, carrying the unbearable weight of Natalie Wood's absence. The real punishment for him wasn't in the investigation. It was the silence that came after it. By 2025, Wagner was 95, frail, soft-spoken, and still haunted by the night that defined his life. His body had aged, but his mind never escaped that replay, like a film looping endlessly in his head. Every argument, every sound, every second still burned into memory. When he finally agreed to a recorded interview in his later years, his voice cracked under the pressure of decades of silence. "People call me a monster, a liar, a coward," he said softly, pausing between words. But the truth is simpler. "I was a man in love who made mistakes, and I've paid for them every single day since." Those words weren't exactly a confession, but they weren't a denial either. They existed in that gray area between guilt and grief, a space where truth mixes with regret, and love becomes both a blessing and a curse. Wagner didn't sound like someone trying to defend himself anymore. He sounded like someone who had already accepted judgment, not from the world, but from his own heart. When asked what truly happened that November night in 1981, he hesitated. His eyes fell, his voice cracked, and he whispered, "After I argued with Chris, I went to find Natalie, and she was gone. I thought she needed time alone. I should have gone after her. Maybe she'd still be here." His voice trembled, and his eyes filled with tears. "I was the last man with her. I can't deny that." That phrase, "the last man with her," became something that haunted him for the rest of his life. Friends said he repeated it often, as if it was carved into his soul. Each time, his tone got softer, sadder, more broken. The confident movie star had vanished, and in his place stood a man consumed by memory. Those closest to him said he barely talked about Hollywood anymore. The fame, the glamour, the success, none of it mattered. Every conversation found its way back to her, Natalie, the love of his life, the woman whose absence he could never stop feeling. He refused to live near the ocean ever again. The sound of crashing waves, once peaceful and soothing, now tore him apart. Instead, he settled inland in a quiet home filled with fading photographs, yellowed scripts, and walls that echoed with memories. The rooms were too big for one man, too quiet for a soul still haunted. His daughter, Courtney, described those final years as peaceful but heavy. She said that every time her father saw a photo of her mom, he would go completely silent. "You could feel the sadness in the air," she said. It never left him. To the public, Robert Wagner still looked like the same polished Hollywood icon, the charming gentleman from heart to heart, always smiling for the cameras. But behind closed doors, he was someone else entirely. A man undone by love, crushed by guilt, and haunted not just by what people believed, but by what he could never forget. Even in his 90s, the ocean still called to him, not as a comfort, but as a ghostly reminder. The wind, the waves, the whispers of her name, they followed him everywhere. And in his private notes, ones later shared by his daughter Natasha, he left behind a message that said it all. "She was my compass, my direction." It was a line that summed up a lifetime. One man, one love, and one night that he could never escape, no matter how many years passed or how many waves rolled away into silence. "When she was gone, I lost all sense of direction. Robert Wagner once confessed in one of his final interviews, "I didn't know where I was going anymore." Those words, fragile and heavy, said more than any court document or police report ever could. He lived a long life, but one forever haunted by what he couldn't explain. The sound of crashing waves, the chill of the ocean air, the hours that vanished into darkness, and the name he never stopped whispering, Natalie. For 43 long years, the truth about what really happened to Natalie Wood has drifted somewhere between fact and memory, always close enough to touch, yet never clear enough to grasp. The night she disappeared didn't just end a Hollywood love story. It became one of the industry's most enduring mysteries. And through it all, Robert Wagner carried that shadow everywhere he went. His final words didn't reveal guilt or innocence. They revealed something far more human, the unbearable weight of regret, the kind that time can't dull and silence can't erase. In every interview, in every brief statement, there was always that flicker of pain behind his calm voice, as if he was still reliving the same few moments again and again. The argument, the silence, the disappearance, and the lifelong question that followed him until the end. Even now, decades later, people are still divided. Was it a tragic accident? A moment of jealousy that went too far? Or something in between? An emotional storm that no one ever intended, but that changed everything? The official reports never gave closure, and every new theory only raised more questions. The captain's claims, the witnesses who heard screams, the inconsistencies in the timeline, they all form a puzzle that refuses to fit neatly together. One thing, though, is undeniable: the pain left behind. Wagner never escaped the whispers, and Hollywood never forgot the scandal. Natalie's beauty, her stardom, her unfinished story, it all became frozen in time, locked in that single weekend near Catalina Island. For fans around the world, her name became more than a memory. It became a mystery no one could stop talking about. The ocean might keep its secrets, but it doesn't silence the echoes. And after so many years, those echoes are louder than ever. Voices still asking what really happened that night. Only 2 people knew the truth, and one of them never came back. Maybe that's why this story will never fully rest. It's more than a Hollywood tragedy. It's a reminder that even the brightest stars can vanish without warning, leaving nothing but questions behind. So now it's your turn. What do you believe really happened aboard the Splendor? Was it fate, misfortune, or a moment that spiraled out of control? Let your thoughts be heard in the comments below. And if this story pulled you in, don't forget to hit like, share this video with someone who remembers Natalie's legacy, and subscribe for more unbelievable Hollywood stories that uncover the truth behind the fame. See you on the next one.